And I prayed, I was like, God, please help me. You know, I'm trying, and you just have to be there to see me through. And he does. And, you know, now I don't feel anything like I did when I started. When you start being obedient, he gives you everything you need.
Welcome to another episode where we have our friend who's an author, Daleen Porter. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
I am so glad I got a chance, our friend who's our hair and makeup star of the ward, to give me your book a little bit ago, and I read it. It's a quick read, but it was an inspiring story.
Oh, good. Yeah.
About a child's glimpse of heaven.
Yes.
Now, I really don't want us to give the thing away because the story is wonderful and inspiring about what God did for you when you were 6 years old.
Yes, yes.
But I would love to, maybe if you want to highlight part of it, but what I had for you is a question about how has your experience by encountering heaven, how has it impacted your life today?
It has changed my views completely on life. I know I haven't always lived the perfect Christian life like you want, you know, like
we
you
all,
think.
yes,
right,
we're all
right.
in that boat, yes.
So, but for the most part, I have. I've been raised in church. My parents are ministers. My whole life, I've been with that. But it is hard sometimes having that kind of a life and that kind of pressure. And sometimes you're not always living perfect, but you always are with, you know who God is and you keep him close. But sometimes you get away. I have always known who Jesus is and just always spent time with him. You know, he's your best friend. When you need somebody, he's always there for you. And it has impacted my life a lot.
So so let's highlight though. Right. The part is you experienced, kind of at least give us a highlight of what happened when you were young.
Right. When I was 6 years old, it was just a normal night like any other night. I went to bed. I don't remember anything. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up in heaven. And when I woke up, I don't remember waking up, I was just actually there. I just arrived. And when I got there, it was just an open space is what I had seen. It's just open, and there was kids around playing, and the very first thing I was brought to was the river of life, which I didn't really know it was the river of life. I just thought it was a lake or a water, you know, but it was so shiny, shimmery, crystal clear, it didn't look like anything I had ever seen on earth. And I had just gotten back from a missions trip with my parents from Belize. And in reality.
Yeah, right.
And so I knew about the water, you know, and playing in the water and stuff. It just looked so different when I had seen it. So I was just taking it in, basically. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't wonder where I was. I knew where I was, and it was just known. But I didn't know anything about heaven. It was just, I knew I was there. You know, it's hard to explain, but I wasn't afraid at all.
Which is amazing. So even at that young, I remember when we're that age, you definitely have those fears, like when the night's on, I need the night light.
Right,
I remember that. Can you crack the door open, Mom, so I can see the light in the hallway? I remember that at that age.
Right.
But for you to not be afraid was, how cool is that?
Oh, it's very cool. It was so peaceful. There was no fear, and everything was alive. I mean, everything had life. Even the grass was alive.
Wow.
And the flowers dancing and moving to the music. You could hear the music just playing in the background constantly.
Was the music anything like you've heard today?
No, it is not. It was just almost like a choir. Just angelic, just all I can say. And I've had people ask, how do you explain it? I'm just like, I don't know.
So more voices versus instruments.
Oh, yeah, and both.
Okay.
But you could hear just at different times, you know, it would play louder. And the only way I could think is when I was trying to watch something or listen to music or something, it would change the tones and the distance or something, you know. And so I explained it as kind of like virtual reality is today. You know, you can listen to it closer, zoom in, zoom out, you know. I didn't know why then, but then I would see the children playing in the water.
Okay.
And what is the really cool thing is they would go in the water. They were laughing and playing. They were having so much fun. And they would come out, and they looked about my age, and they would come out of the water, and the water would just drip off of them, and it would just roll off of them they were dry, completely dry from being in the water. Just
didn't look
completely
soaked.
dry. No.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was really awesome. But Jesus wasn't there right at that moment.
Okay.
But I could feel his presence. His presence was always felt.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's a child's part of heaven, but if there is, that's where I was at. I was visiting that part. And then he just came up to me, like right beside me, and it just felt warmth and peace, I just felt it was amazing. And I did not once think, where are my parents or where am I?
Okay.
No, not one time.
So you didn't have a thought about who was with or without?
No.
Who wasn't with you?
It felt like I was at the place I was supposed to be.
Okay.
I just never once considered where I was.
So you were curious.
Yeah, I was really watching and looking. And I didn't go all the way inside of heaven, but he was just taking me on the outside, touring it, basically.
Okay.
I was looking in. I could zoom in and see through areas of heaven, different areas.
Okay.
But I didn't go through the gates of heaven. And so when I was over by the gates, I was talking with Jesus at that time, and he was like, I walked over to the gate, and I was like wanting to go through the slats. They had like wide slats.
Okay.
And I wanted to go through. He's like, you can't go in there right now. It's not your time. And I was like, I always have remembered that. He said, it's just not your time.
So let me ask you then, wasn't your time then? Since that time, have you had more encounters like that?
I haven't ever gone back to heaven, but I've had a lot of visions and dreams. Okay. And so I would always know when I would pray, I would say, God, just show me, what to do or how to approach the situation. And I would always just have a dream or a vision of something.
So God was answering how he talked to you. He would give you a dream to explain his answer to you.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Wow. So some people call that, whether it's dreams and visions, sometimes they're a seer.
Right.
So would you see, is that what you're, that you're more of a seer? So God shows you things. Does he show you things more for what is in the future?
Yes. Yes, it is. And if I have a question, I won't know what day or whatever, but I'll just say, God, just show me what to do. And like so many times he would just reveal it in a dream. It would be a dream, but it doesn't feel like a dream. It feels real. Right. And when I was putting my book together, I didn't really want to do the book. I wanted to keep all this to myself. And when I would meet people who were really sad about losing someone, I would think, and God would prompt me, go ahead and talk about it. But it was hard for me to talk about because I would just start crying, talking about heaven for years, even up until I was an adult. I couldn't talk about it without like getting real emotional. And God told me, start speaking about it more and it'll get easier. And it's true. It has. And
so you felt like God was now preparing you that you needed to share your experiences so that it would encourage other people now.
That's right. Yeah. And I have heard a lot of different things, but I didn't really want to do it. And I just kept feeling God, he's been telling me for years to do it. And you know how you just put it off. You're just like, okay, I will someday, but not right now, Right. And we just need to listen to God's voice and do it when we're supposed to be obedient. Yes.
Do you think you would act differently had you not had that encounter with heaven and even seeing hell, which you also talk about in your book?
I know. I often don't mention the part about hell as much as I talk about heaven.
It's a short chapter.
It is. It's a short chapter. Yes, it's changed me for sure. If anybody wants to know, is it real? There's no doubt in my mind that it is 100% real. And heaven is real, and hell is just as real. And, a lot of the people aren't talking about hell anymore. They only talk about heaven. Now, I noticed I do that sometimes, but it is scary. It is a scary thing, talking about hell. But I wasn't afraid while I was there and seeing it.
Wow. Because, I remember growing up, though, they used to I always say they scared hell out of you because you'd be paranoid, like you only want to make sure you choose life. And God even says, in case I have put before you life and death.
Choose life.
And choose
That's
life.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of what God has done is that he allows us to experience all the blessings and everything that he has in our lives so that we would want to see the goodness of the Lord, right? And so I think it's wonderful when I hear that, God's impact on your life, even as a child, but now that he's positioning you to begin to share that story even now, more so than even when you were younger.
Oh, yes. Yes, now is the time. He is ready for me to start sharing it. And when I was not wanting to, I would think up every excuse. And what it was is that I went to a women's conference and a woman I'd never even met. I did not know her. She was a minister and she came up to me and there was a whole line of people getting prayed for. And she laid hands on me and she said, "You're not obeying God." Ooh. And, and he has a plan for your life and you know what it is. And she said, you are going to minister to people, but it's going to be different. It's going to be your own style. And I like that because I always said, I don't want to preach like everyone else. I don't want to minister to people like everyone else. I want to be relaxed and, accept everybody and not have judgment and just, come from that angle. And, just be myself, not anybody that I'm not.
But that's what God intended for us to do.
Oh, yes.
That's why he's got so many great personalities.
Yes.
Because we are supposed to just be ourselves and allow him to be able to reflect his glory through our lives.
True. Yes, absolutely.
Which is fun. Because the influence that you have, only you can have it.
That's right.
And your story, nobody can argue your story.
Right.
It is yours. And let me ask you too, at one point we were saying ahead of time, you didn't like talking in front of groups and crowds.
Right.
So then with you talking about, I want to obey.
Right.
What was going on in your mind? But the obedience is hard on me because I don't like it.
Hard, yes.
So what do? You
step out in faith, and God steps in and takes over. So I say step out and he steps in. So when you start being obedient, he gives you everything you need when you do what you're called to do. And I never would have thought I would have done that. And, the first time I got up and spoke, I grabbed onto that pulpit. I did not want to let go. Oh, please, God help me.
Yeah.
But he did. And, people got ministered to, and it was great. But, practice and just doing it more and more. Sometimes they'll just get up, and just talk about, giving an offering or, just doing it and just getting in front of people. And it really helps. And I prayed. I was like, God, please help me. I'm trying and you just have to be there to see me through. And he does. And, now I don't feel anything like I did when I started. And I'm so thankful. And so when I was putting the book together, I was just like, I don't know where to start because everybody says, let's write a book, Well, where do you start, And God showed me this puzzle just in my spirit. I just saw this big, humongous puzzle, and it had all the corners around it, but the inside was missing, And he said, each time you step out, you'll get a new piece until you get that puzzle put together. And that was so comforting, And when I was finished, I was like, I did the puzzle, I don't put puzzles together either. I don't like puzzles, but I felt so good that, just by stepping out, he gives you what you need when you need. And when you have a vision of what you're going to be doing, you don't really want to see the whole picture at once.
That's too scary.
It is.
Yeah.
And so it comes in bits and pieces, but it fits together, and it's his perfect plan.
You've really spoken really too with the opportunity that you walked out in obedience.
Yes.
But then you also had God, when you acted it out, God also shows up and then he provides for us.
That's
so whatever we lack, and James talks about, whenever you lack for anything, if we would ask of God, he's generous to give to us. So he provides you the courage to step forward.
Right.
And I'm interested, as you've begun to do that, what has been the fruit from your speaking and sharing to people?
Oh my goodness, I have been getting so many people that have sending me emails, text.
Really?
Even one lady had sent it to San Diego as a gift for her 21st birthday for her family member. And she sent the book as it was in San Diego or somewhere that she sent it, and she sent me a picture, and
Wow.
you know, and then other people who've lost loved ones, they've come up and told me just how much peace the book has brought them, and
Wow.
how it makes them feel good about knowing that their family members were up there, because that was one thing I had seen as people waiting for their family members. It is so cool that when you go, your family knows that you're there and they're waiting for you. And they were like jumping up and down and waving, you know, that they were so glad. And it's brought a lot of peace to people to know that their family members aren't alone, you know,
That's
in
powerful.
heaven. Yeah.
It's a great point of comfort. So your story
It is.
bringing comfort to
Yes.
those who have lost loved
Yes.
ones,
Oh,
which has
yes.
been going on a lot in the recent days, right?
Yes, right. And people who've lost children find comfort in it too, because they want to know what's going on and what are they thinking and doing, and hopefully it brings some peace to them as well.
So your story really is about a message of hope
Yes,
and how God has showed you a glimpse of heaven,
Right.
so that you can encourage people that there's something beyond where we're at right now.
right. That's
Good.
right.
So I would love for you even to tell the audience, what is a message that they want to hear that you feel like would inspire them to seek after God and to obey like you've done?
Right. Well, to inspire them, just it feels so good to obey God. And the things that He does when you step out and you do these things, it changes your whole life. Like, I have been so much closer to Him now than I ever was, just because being in obedience, it just brings blessings, and the feeling of comfort that He gives is just so different. When you obey God, you just see different results in your life. And, you know, it's like you could have this or you can have it all. You know, when you're obedient, He just blesses you so abundantly that you don't have to worry what's going to happen, or, you know, because I used to always think, people are going to think this is weird, you know, telling the story, and how do I remember? Well, I have kept notes since I have been so young and put them all together, and that's how I compiled the book. But, you know, and it sounds weird. People think that's really weird. You didn't die, you know, but you went to heaven. And I always was thinking, I was worried about what people thought. And I realized that I'm a people pleaser. And I'm trying to get out of that, because really in the end, we only need to please God, because we're here for a very short time, but we're going to spend eternity there. And when I get there, I don't want Him to say, why didn't you do this? You could have helped more people get here by obedience and obeying, because we don't know what He has planned or anything. So just, even I said, if it helps one person, but I have heard so many people that it's helped, that I'm like, well, it's been more than one person, so I've accomplished already, because, you know, I felt good about just one.
You know, Daleen, you've got a great book, A Child's Glimpse of Heaven, and this is available on Amazon, but we also, on iRefresh.net, we're going to have show notes. It'll have that link where you can order your own copy. And, you know, even as Daleen has talked about, it is a witnessing tool. You know, whether you have gone through a very hard time in your life and you need hope, or you've lost someone, this is a story that will encourage your heart. So I encourage you, when you order one, order a couple copies. And we hope that you also, even on our website at iRefresh.net, you will find some words of encouragement, that you have scriptures that you can pray the Word of God over your life as you might be going through different things. So go into our section there on their website so that you can find hope and encouragement for every day of your life.
Yes.
So Daleen, thank you for coming and speaking and sharing your story with us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I hope it helps someone.
Amen.
Yes.